Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Eagle News Forum. My name is Dr. Malcolm Beach, and I'm your host for today's program, along with my co-host, Malcolm Muhammad. How are you today, Malcolm? Okay. Yeah, today we're going to talk a little bit about an event, a conference coming up in Atlanta, Georgia, in about 2 weeks. It's called the National Alliance of Black Business Conference. It's one of the first times that two organizations, one is called the National Business League, founded by Dr. Booker T. Washington in 1900, and the other one is called the National Black Chamber of Commerce. Now, these two organizations have membership chapters all across the country. And this will be the largest gathering of Black businesses in the United States since Booker T. Washington back in 1900 formed the National Business League. It's one of the issues that a lot of people don't recognize a lot when it comes to economic development, and that is the unity and cooperation of the Black business community. And so what we want to talk about today is the impact of this historic conference, this historic event, and just how that will relate to Africa and the Pan-African portion of the conference. So let's get started with that. And Malcolm, do you have any particular questions you want to start us off with?
My first question would be, would you maybe tell us a little more about what the conference is, and then would you explain why the conference is necessary?
Okay. Well, there's two sides to the conference. It's actually what we call a domestic side, which talks about business opportunities and business skills and technical assistance necessary to succeed in the American marketplace. And in particular, we're talking about the private sector, which is large businesses, and the public sector, which is government procurement. Those are the two primary areas. And of course, there's always the consumer section that is very important. But each business has to identify what market is he really going to. Is he trying to sell his goods and services to the consumer market, or sell it to the government market, or sell it to big business? And those are some of the issues that they're going to discuss in the domestic part of the conference. For example, in the federal government side, there's something called small business certification. In other words, if you make less than $500,000 gross sales in a year, you can qualify to be a small business. Now, why is that important? That's important because there's a law that says that 23% of all government procurement must go to small business. So all of a sudden you're in a protected category of businesses that have an opportunity to receive those government contracts, and you're only competing with other small businesses. And that is one way. It's a small business set aside. That's what they call it. And that's one way to get small businesses involved in government procurement. Now, why is government procurement significant in the community, in the Black community? Well, as we all know, if you own a regular retail shop selling clothes, shoes, or something else, you basically live by the day. depending on what the weather is outside, whether there's a storm, whether it's sun shining, whether it's raining, that will determine your sales for that particular day. But with a government contract and you're providing goods and services to the government, you sign a contract for a certain amount of money. In some cases, we're talking about $1 million a year, and the contract is for 5 years. So if you got that kind of regular cash flow, as a business person, you can now plan the growth of your company because you got business coming in every month of a certain amount, and you're going to get paid a certain amount every month on a particular time, whether it's 30 days or 45 days after you submit your invoice. And this gives a little stability to the small business owner where, he can look and say, okay, well, I got this coming up. Well, therefore, I can hire some people because I know I got some work for them to do. I can move into that new location and buy the building where I got my manufacturing and my warehousing set up. So it gives a business owner an opportunity, like I said, to plan his future. And that's why that particular part of the conference is very, very important. And every government agency, every government department has a small business specialist. And this is a person whose job it is to make sure that the 23% out of that department goes to small business. So it's good to get to know these people and get to understand what they're looking for. And, that is one of the purposes of the conference because a lot of them are going to be here, be in Atlanta, and they're looking to meet small businesses that they can help grow because that's how they get measured on their job performance, is how small businesses grow. Now, when we talk about other things, we talk about large businesses. Well, large businesses in general don't have a particular quota, okay? They deal with it based on what they feel like. Unless they have a big government contract, then all of a sudden they got to do 23% of their business. They call them subcontracts. They have to subcontract 23% of their business revenues to a small business so that they can again benefit from that government contract or service. Also, a lot of times with large businesses, they may have to look back and see who is their customer base, who are the consumers buying their goods and services. Now, if it turns out you've got a major private corporation and your customers are 40% African American, it would do you well, be a good corporate decision for you to have a minority business procurement program where you're buying a significant amount of your goods, 25, 30% of your goods and services from minority business, because that reflects where you're getting your money from. And a lot of corporations have come to understand that, and they do have a minority or small business procurement program. Now, when it comes to consumers, once again, you're in a situation where you've got to figure out, how do I deal with the consumer marketplace? And that way it depends, because you're on the ground, you're close to your consumers. You got to know your market. So people may be talking to you about how, you get some what's called technical assistance, some experts to give you some advice on how to set up your small business. And they'll tell you what you need to look for in the marketplace. They'll give you some guidelines about your budget. What percent of your budget should be cost of goods sold? In other words, your supplies, what you're reselling. What percent of your budget should be labor for your employees? What percent of your budget should be overhead, to pay the utility bills and pay the rent? And when you get all these things together and you put together the budget for your company, then you know what the price of your goods sold have to be. In other words, if you can't buy a pound of meat for I don't know, say $5 a pound, okay? And then by the time you cook it and try to sell it, you're selling it for $4 a pound, you know, okay? Because you bought it for 5, now you're gonna sell it for 4. Well, there's something wrong with that. That's a loss. So when you're in small business, you have to pay attention to those kind of things to know what goes into the cost of that hamburger and what it is that you can sell it for in the marketplace. And then, of course, you can't sell a hamburger for $5 if everybody else around you is selling it for $4, so you've got to figure out, well, can you meet that price, or can you come up with another reason that people are going to pay you $5 and everybody else they're paying $4? So when you start talking about the consumer-based business, it means that you have to at least know those basic principles about consumerism and selling to the public so that you can have a successful business. I mean, the profit margin is what's important, because at the end of the day, profits are what's important. You won't stay in business unless you're a profitable business. No matter how good your product is, no matter how wonderful you are as a person selling it, if you don't make a profit in your business, you will go out of business because you won't be able to pay your bills. And that's, won't be able to pay the rent, pay the light bill, pay the employees. Hey, you're going to go out of business. So these are some of the things that on the domestic side of a conference that the experts, the panels, we're going to have panel discussions, and we have experts in all those areas to be able to give you some advice on how to run your business domestically. Now, likewise, you had a question, Malcolm? You look like you're about to ask a question.
Oh, I was just gonna, if you were finished, I was gonna ask whether or not is there another side of the conference beyond the small business advocacy? Is there a side that affects the Black diaspora?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get to next. Yes, the Pan-African Diaspora Conference, same location, same conference, but a different name. Now, this particular conference is going to focus specifically on the African diaspora doing business. Okay, and what that means is the people that are descendants of Africans, okay, that may have left the continent of Africa and spread throughout the world, they're called the diaspora. Okay, and you've got the diaspora in Brazil, about 60 million of them. The diaspora in the Caribbean, another 10 million. And of course, in the United States, we got 50 million descendants of these Africans. And it's the same thing in Europe. Europe has got another 5 million. Australia's got 1 million. And there's diaspora spread all over the world. What we're going to talk about is how this diaspora can coordinate their efforts and begin to do business with Africa. Africa is a very large continent. They've got close to 1.5 billion people. It's a robust economy because it's a young economy, meaning that half of the people are under 30 years of age, and the population is growing. So, if you're in business, that's where you want to go. You want to go where there's a lot of people, there's more people every day, because these people need things. They consume a lot of things. That's why they call them consumers, okay? They consume a lot of things, and the same thing with the government. The government has to provide more and more services because the population is growing. So everybody's GDP really is tied to this population growth and the youth. That's what's important. So people try to say, well, I got to spread out. I got to expand my base. Well, they go to a country or a continent that is growing, and that's how you have an opportunity to grow your business. So what we're going to have on the Pan-African Diaspora side of the conference, we're going to have representatives from a lot of different African countries, trade ministers, that are going to come over here to America and talk to some of these business people that are going to be at the conference and they're going to try to tell them what the opportunities are in Africa, in their particular country. They're going to say, well, we need this, we need that. Can you supply, this kind of a product or equipment? Likewise, in Africa, they want to sell some things too. They want to export some things. So they'll be able to tell us in America, well, do you want to buy this from me? I've got a lot of this particular kind of product. Would you be interested in developing a sales or trade agreement with me? So this whole thing with trade back and forth, in business deals, I always tell people, business deals, both sides profit, both sides win. It's a win-win situation. That's how you construct a business deal, is that both sides of the deal are winners. And so what we're proposing and hoping that in Atlanta, we're going to find that, these trade ministers will find some partners in the African diaspora that they can do business with. And that's, like I said, that's going to help everybody on both sides of the equation. A lot of times the things that we hear about Africa, everybody's living in the jungle or so poor they can't do nothing. Well, that's not true. Africa has more mineral resources than any other continent on Earth. More lithium, uranium, oil, gas, gold, diamonds. All that is in Africa. There's more there than it is anywhere else. So you think about your cell phone, 70% of your content of your cell phone comes from Africa. All right. I mean, you don't know that because of the way the Western world extracts those minerals and they take it back to their country. You think everything came from Europe or China or somewhere else, but it really originated from Africa. So Africa has a lot of resources. They got a lot of people, and it's a worthwhile business arrangement to try to develop some connection and arrangement with Africa to grow your business. And that's what we're going to be talking about in Atlanta, the end of this month, the 26th, 27th, 28th of August in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Hyatt Regency Hotel. And we're saying go online to the National Black Business Conference.com and read all about it. And I think that you'll find it very informative.
And that's essentially 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Yes.
So you have experience as a small business advocate. You've held conferences to provide technical training and seminars to small businesses. Probably for the last 2 decades or more.
At least.
Yeah. So then you're very familiar with the psychological barriers. A lot of times people, as human beings, we have opportunities, we're exposed to new ideas, but maybe we're afraid to seize the opportunity. We have self-doubt. We have all kinds of impediments that are just mental that causes us to miss those opportunities, and which means we miss the opportunity to realize our dreams and to find that happiness that we're looking for. And sometimes you end up regretting that. So I think in your experience, you've been exposed to that, because what you presented is a opportunity that small business owners have to make a tremendous amount of progress, a path towards profitability, because we know that a lot of the large corporations today started off as government contractors.
Absolutely.
And now you look at them as, they're so, they're billions of dollars in revenue. You're so excited. It sounds exciting. But, they started out maybe as a small business certified company, as an AA company. So, but they were able to overcome all those challenges that a person has within themselves to be successful. So my question for you is, what type of attitude should a small business have when they come to this conference that you're talking about? And then what can you say to help them to be more confident to seize the opportunity that this conference is presenting to small business owners?
Well, that's a good question, Malcolm, and you're absolutely right. It becomes an individual decision anyway to go into business, to expand your business, to have faith. You got to be in it for the long run. There's no such thing as quick money, in business. But I would say this, that one of the advantages of a conference is that you're in a room or in a building with a lot of people that are just like you. They got aspirations and dreams. And just like you said, they're not sure of themselves. They don't know whether to go left or go to right. But what happens is once you get in a group and then you're talking to people and you find out everybody has the same issues and the same questions, then all of a sudden you get more focused because you're relaxed now. And you can see that, I'm not stupid. Somebody else had that same question, and we got an answer to the question. So now I can move forward, with what I was going to do, because now I've got my questions answered and I feel more confidence in myself to learn that there's some other people that had the same question, and they didn't know what to do either. And that's the kind of thing that really helps small businesses grow, because a lot of times you're in business, all you're doing is you go there 7 o'clock in the morning and you leaving 7 o'clock at night. You're working all day, go home, get something to eat, and see the kids and the wife, and you go to sleep. You don't have an opportunity to think about your business, to network. So this conference is a time to get away from your basic routine and spend some real quality time on trying to build your business, trying to understand what it takes to build a business. And like I say, and you got experts. See, that's the other thing about a conference. You got people that they've been there, done that, and made a lot of money, and so if you want to have that same level of success, you get to know them, you get to talk to them, ask them questions. Anything that's on your mind, your questions will be answered, because there's somebody at the conference in the room that knows the answer. Why? Because they've been through it. They've been through the problems and the issues and the difficulties that you've been through. And it's just worthwhile, is all I'm saying. You can, it's just like anything else in terms of the educational process. You can learn day by day working with a plumber, how to be a plumber. You know what I mean? It's called being an apprentice. That's what everything used to be. Or you can go to that class at the local community college where you got a professor and another 20 people in the room, okay? And they're going to talk about each aspect of putting that plumbing together. And you've got an expert here telling you this every day, and you got students in the classroom just like you with other questions, some questions you might not even have thought about. So the group learning process works, is what I'm saying. And you go to a conference and that's what it is. You have these panel groups of experts talking to a general audience. There might be 30 to 50 people. And they're going to hit on the most essential parts of being successful in that particular business opportunity. All of them. There's no question about it. And that's how you can grow and take advantage and benefit from going to a conference, especially if you're a small business owner. So that's what I would suggest as a reason why people need to come to the conference, is that you're going to get most of your questions answered, and the networking is just tremendous. You're going to meet a lot of people from all over the country, all over the world, really, because we got a lot of people coming from out of the United States coming to this particular conference. And the key thing, everybody's talking about doing business. They ain't talking about saving the world. That's another conference. We're going to save the world. We're going to stop the conflict, stop everybody from fighting. That's another conference. But this particular conference in Atlanta is about making money. It's about making money, entrepreneurs making money. And one of the things that you often talk about, Malcolm, is also very key. And that is that the business plan. You have to plan on making money. You're not just going to make money just because you're handsome, like me. You're not going to be able to just make money just because you look good. or the clothes you wear, you know, you've got to plan on it. And it's called business planning. And most of us either don't have a plan, or we have an incomplete plan, or we never wrote it down. And I'm suggesting to you that go to this conference and learn how to complete your business plan so the path to success will be clearer for you and you have a better opportunity of reaching it.
Well, thank you. That's a great distinction, so that we can understand what we're looking at. And, it's going to be great, I think, to be, like, as you mentioned, to network with like-minded individuals. And then also that we have a focus. There are a lot of problems in the world, a lot of things that could distract us, but the primary focus emphasized at this conference is creating and managing profitable enterprises and seizing the opportunities that are going to make your business profitable. So that's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, we said the website is nationalblackbusinessconference.com. And it's going to be held 28th of August in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Hyatt Regency Hotel. And we hope that many of you can attend the conference. And I think it'd definitely be very beneficial. But again, something you want to say?
No, you just said the 26th, 27th, and 28th are the date of the conferences.
Yes, in August in Atlanta. And again, we want to thank all of you for joining us today for Eagle News Forum. We're going to be trying to provide you with more information as we go forward about doing business in the diaspora. And we're going to be talking some more about travel and tourism. And we hope to see you again very soon. So thank you so much for joining us today. And Malcolm, I hope you have a fine day.
Thank you. Likewise. Have a great day, Dr. Beach.
Okay. So long.